This is a 16-inch portable monitor, and while there's a bunch of portable monitors out there in the market right now, this one's a little bit different because look what it can do. That's right, that means you get two 16-inch stacked portable monitors on top of each other. In this video, I'll talk to you about the UPERFECT Delta Pro Touch. I'll talk to you about the design of these two 16-inch 2K 60Hz monitors, the multitude of ports, the capabilities of multitasking, the sound quality, and most importantly, is it worth your money? Are you ready to open up to the possibilities of having a dual screen stacked portable monitor? Let's go. Okay, so in the box for me, I actually received about 5 different types of cable sets, as you can tell. And here, I'm not quite sure if I got all these different types of wires because I'm a collaborator with UPERFECT, or if those are just the wires that you get if you purchase the dual screen UPERFECT Delta Pro Touch. So of the 5 wires, I get 2 USB-C to USB-C wires, and then there's a USB-A to a USB-C wire, and then I have 2 regular HDMIs that convert over to mini HDMIs. Again, I'm not overly sure that every consumer who purchases this UPERFECT dual monitor setup is going to receive all these wires, or if I got all these wires because I'm a collaborator, I don't know. Continuing on into the box, you then get a charging puck that looks like this. It is a USB-C charging puck, and this charging brick has a maximum of 20 volts, which is ample power for you to be able to charge your UPERFECT dual screen monitor setup, even though your MacBook does have kind of like power pass through, which means that it charges other devices as it's being charged. I do want to say that if you want the best possible performance out of your dual monitor setup, or possibly any portable monitor in general, you do want to have a dedicated power brick so that way it is powering your dual monitor setup, because this dual monitor does not have any integrated battery, meaning that it does have to have some type of power outlet for it to be utilized. Also within the box, you get this, which is going to be a stylus. And so this stylus isn't anything like an Apple Pencil or a Samsung S Pen, and it does have one single button. So if the camera will pick it up, you'll see that there is that one single button. The top actually screws off like this, and in there you'll find out there's going to be a AAA battery. So it's essentially going to fit inside the stylus like that, and then you would just screw the top on. So it is a little bit of a bummer that it is not rechargeable. So even though I'm a big proponent of rechargeable things, I am happy about the fact that I can just pop in a new AAA battery whenever the stylus does die, mainly because one day the kind of battery recharge degradation and the battery life cycle on a rechargeable battery is going to wear out. Whereas with this battery, all I have to simply do is just pop out the AAA and pop a new one in, and then it should be good to go. And the last 2 things that you get in the box is going to be the user manual. So this user manual is kind of like the most cheapest user manual I've ever seen. It's literally printer paper, and then they folded it in half. And so this is actually a really helpful user manual because it does have a kind of a frequently asked questions. It gives you a kind of a rundown of all of the ports and the different types of connections. And then on the back portion, it actually kind of gives you some details about the picture, the color effects, how to reset it, what's the information on the display that you're currently outputting, etc., etc. And so it's actually really good. So I'm definitely going to read through this, and I recommend that if you purchase this dual monitor setup, you read through this manual itself. Don't let the printer paper quality deter you from actually reading this user manual. And the last thing that UPERFECT sent me is going to be a traveling case. And this is going to be a case that is pretty protected. On the inside, you can feel that it's pretty padded. There's going to be about 2 main zippers here, obviously one for the monitor itself. But on the outside, there's going to be this little slit right here. And this is where you can pretty much put any paperwork, your mouse, maybe a phone, or maybe a bunch of wires, whatever it is. But this is actually really cool because whenever I travel, this thing is super padded. It's not hard shell by any means. You can see that it has a whole bunch of flex, but whenever I put my dual monitor inside of the main sleeve, you can see it does have soft material inside, and then it just kind of gives me a little bit more comfort whenever I am putting in my luggage, my suitcase, or maybe I'm running it through TSA or whatever it may be. I just have a little bit more confidence, so that way I know that my monitor is not going to break. So let's press pause and backpedal a little bit. The reason why UPERFECT gave me all these wires and potentially gives you a whole bunch of these wires is because on the actual dual monitor itself, there is quite a lot of different ports that you can access on the left side of the actual monitor. So you can see here that there are 5 different ports on the left side of the monitor, and these 5 ports are going to represent 3 USB-C ports and then 2 mini HDMI ports. Now again, for those of you who weren't paying attention, I highly recommend that you use one of those USB-C ports on the actual portable monitor as its own dedicated power source. So that way, if for whatever reason there's a disconnection from your MacBook or your gaming device to your actual portable monitor, your portable monitor will still have that ability to power itself. And also again, this portable monitor doesn't have its own battery. On the flip side of where all your ports are, you actually get kind of all these buttons so that way you can access the portable monitor's menus. And within those menu dial controls, you're able to really hone down on a specific color hue or specific coloration for whatever it is that you're using on your portable monitors. Also to note, this particular device does have 2 built-in 3.5mm headphone jacks, so that way if you wanted to hardwire some headphones in, you definitely could. In terms of speaker quality, this UPERFECT dual monitor actually has a bunch of speakers in front. And so the speakers are actually at the bottom or the base side of the monitor. So this is the base side and here's the hinges. So whenever you have some type of volume or you have some type of audio out, all of that sound is going to punch out from the bottom or the base of the monitor. Speaking of sound, here's an example of the sound quality that you would be receiving out of this portable monitor. So I really like this design. I like the fact that it's 16 inches, but something that I really like about it is the fact that it comes with its own built-in kickstand. This right here, this kind of T thing right here, this is a kickstand, and it kind of just like tucks away itself into the actual body of the actual monitor. So this is actually really cool because the kickstand feels really sturdy. There is something I don't like about the kickstand is that the only way to actually open the kickstand is through this little slit right here. And so I'm not sure if the camera is going to pick it up, but this little slit right here is the only way that you're actually able to open up this kickstand. And so I just wish that there was maybe a little bit more grip or maybe a little bit more space on this kind of kickstand area, so that way I didn't have to like rip my nails open because I don't have any. And there you go. So that's the only way. There is no other way for you to open up that kickstand, at least not by design. Nonetheless, the kickstand feels really good. You can see that when it is open, it does open at about a 90-degree angle, and this is actually going to be wonderful because whenever you place it onto the desk, it is super sturdy. During my review and testing of this device, I never felt like the kickstand was ever shaky, or it never felt like the monitors were ever unsteady. And that actually says a lot because I was actually using this device as a touchscreen device and using the stylus, and I never felt like the monitor was ever going to fall down. In terms of the hinge mechanisms, you do have 2 different hinges, one on the left side and one on the right side, and the hinges actually feel really good. You can actually see here that you can open the monitor up into different angles like that, or you can have it open as if it was a regular laptop, or if you are really crazy, you can open it up like this. So the monitor actually has the ability to go like this because the hinges allow for that kind of design, that kind of workflow. And so these hinges are actually really good because, again, you could use this monitor like this, you could use it standing up like that, or if you're in a conference or whatever, you can actually have 2 different monitors facing 2 different people. And regardless if you're using the kickstand or maybe you have the monitor flipped open completely in what I'm going to call kiosk mode, the sides of the monitor do have these little rubber paddings here, and these little rubber paddings are going to be what helps your monitor stick to whatever surface that you're utilizing it on. So before we continue to the capabilities of this monitor, I do want to just put this one thing out there, and that's the fact that this is not a light device. This monitor is pretty heavy. It feels like an actual laptop itself, maybe even heavier than a laptop, because I have my MacBook Air right here, and even with a case, my MacBook Air is still lighter than this portable monitor. So just kind of putting that out there is, if you are one of those professionals or one of those people who plan to take this monitor on the go, you're gonna feel that extra weight in your book bag or your suitcase. So the thing that I love about the stacked dual screen setup for this portable monitor is the fact that it makes efficient use of the space, because I can have my MacBook over here and then my stacked dual screen setup over here, and then I still have kind of all this desk real estate that I can utilize. And this is further emphasized by the fact that these are two vertical 16-inch displays. In terms of kind of the technical specs of these displays, they both output a 2K resolution, which I know it's not 4K, but realistically, 2K and 4K, unless you're like a super ultra gamer, you're not gonna really notice a difference. And then paired with that 2K resolution output, this actually has 60 Hz refresh rate. So with this particular model, because there are different models of this kind of stacked dual monitor display that UPERFECT offers, this one is the touchscreen portion, and it does have pressure sensitivity for that stylus that came with the monitor. And with touchscreen being kind of the concept of the discussion right now, this is actually a 10-point touchscreen display, meaning that you can touch the screen in 10 different areas and you're able to kind of navigate or do different things with 10 different points of contact. I feel like the pressure sensitive touch screen actually didn't let me down. Whenever I was taking notes or whenever I was using the touch screen in general, I felt like everything was very responsive and there was no delay. I do want to fully disclose that even though it is touchscreen, it's not going to have kind of those Mac gestures like with your mouse trackpad. You can't pinch it or use Stage Manager or whatever like that on the actual touchscreen because it's just a touchscreen. If you're going to use any of those kind of gestures, you do have to use it on the trackpad, not on the actual touchscreen of the dual monitors itself. One thing that I absolutely loved about this display is the fact that I was actually able to use one monitor for kind of an extension to my MacBook Air, and then the top portion as another monitor to a PlayStation 5 or Nintendo Switch. So what I'm getting at is that this particular monitor actually allows for two different inputs and two different outputs. So I was able to connect my MacBook over to this monitor, and then that would extend to one of the displays, and then I was able to hook up my Nintendo Switch, which would then ultimately add the Nintendo Switch display on top of the bottom display, and then that would then allow me to do YouTube or my video editing and then have my Nintendo Switch just kind of in the background if I want. Or better yet, I was actually playing my Nintendo Switch on the upper display and then watching YouTube on the bottom display. Let's just be real. That's like the ultimate multitasking setup. You can have your media consumption at the bottom, you can have your work stuff on your laptop, and then you can be playing games all at the same time. Now, if you're a coworker and you hear me say this, I can truthfully tell you that I have not done that, but challenge accepted. So in the day and age where all we care about is resolution and 2K or 4K or whatever on our TVs or displays or whatever, again, the UPERFECT dual monitor setup that we have right here outputs 2.5K resolution at 60 Hz, which is going to be great if you're just going to do some video editing. It's going to be great for media consumption. And then if you are a gamer, you are able to play your games on this. Obviously, you're not going to be able to reach 4K, but honestly, in my opinion, if you're going to be on the go, this is a wonderful setup to have because the 2K resolution is a small hit to pay whenever you have two 16-inch 60 Hz dual monitors that you can take anywhere. Now that does lead me to something that I was a little bit disappointed about, is the fact that this only reaches 60 Hz instead of 120 Hz. And so for those of you who aren't technical and don't quite know what that means, the higher amount of Hertz, so 120 Hz or 144 Hz or higher, the more buttery smooth your game or your movie is going to look. The lower amount of Hertz a display has basically means that it's going to be not as smooth. But honestly, at 60 Hz, this is actually really good. I was playing a whole bunch of Nintendo Switch games games, and I even tried my PS5, and I couldn't really tell a difference because most console gaming actually maxes out at 60 hertz. And so unless you're a PC player where you're able to have that super duper ultra high-end gaming rig where you're able to put out 144 hertz or more, then this is definitely not the setup for you. But for that kind of everyday average consumer, the casual gamer, this is a wonderful setup for you. Again, especially because you can take this on the go. So I mentioned earlier that UPERFECT has 4 different versions of this kind of dual screen setup for their portable monitors. And this one specifically is going to be the Delta Pro Touch, the 16-inch 2.5K dual monitor with the touch pen. And this one comes in at $589. But I highly suggest that you check on the link in the description box below because you may or may not find a discount code whenever you use my affiliate link to purchase this monitor. And yes, whenever you use my affiliate link, you do get a discount, but you also help me out as well because I do get a small commission whenever you do purchase one of these monitors. So feel free to use that discount with the affiliate link down below. Alright, so let's switch gears really quick and let's talk about gaming on this portable monitor. I was only able to test out my Nintendo Switch 2 as well as my PS5 on this particular dual monitor setup, so let's jump over to some samples really quick. Let's go.
Something that keeps us going. Something that pushes us.
Water breathing! Headphone! Constant flux! The flow of water never stops! That looks like one of Beck's Mysterios.
Okay guys, so after tinkering around with the settings, I realized that the settings menu is going to be independent per each screen, even though it's one unit, one product. But the cool thing is that I was able to actually attach 2 gaming consoles to this portable monitor. So basically I have my Nintendo Switch 2 connected, and that's going to reflect the top screen, and then I have my PS5 connected, and that's going to reflect my bottom screen. So here, check this out really quick. So I'm going to turn the camera around. So I know the lighting isn't the greatest right now because I was trying to get some B-roll, but here again is my Nintendo Switch 2, my PS5, Nintendo, and then PS5, and you can kind of change this up to however you want it. So if you wanted to have the PS5 on top and the Nintendo Switch at the bottom, again, just make sure that you're connecting the HDMI wires respectively. So the HDMI wires at the top portion will reflect whatever is going to be on the top screen, and then the HDMI wire port at the bottom is going to reflect what's at the bottom of the screen. So again, if I want to switch this around, basically all I had to do is switch the HDMI wires, and then it'll show up here in the main display. This is super cool because I love the fact that I can have my Nintendo at the top display and then my PlayStation 5 at the bottom display. I don't know why I would ever need both, but the fact that I have that option is pretty cool. Okay, so this is a really cool monitor. I really love the fact that UPERFECT decided to collaborate with me again and send me out this particular unit for me to review for them. Even though I am collaborating with UPERFECT, they do ask me to provide a honest review for their products. So here's the kind of like honest review for me. There's a few things that I just didn't like about this UPERFECT display. And one is going to be the weight. It comes in at 5.9 pounds or 2.31 kilograms, which again, that's pretty heavy. If you're going to be putting this in your book bag, if you're going to be putting it in your suitcase, Lord forbid, if you're going to be carrying this kind of like a notebook, it's going to be heavy. Another thing that I don't like about my particular setup is the fact that when I was peeling off the kind of protective layer or protective screen from the actual monitor, it felt like there was like a little bit of a sticky residue where maybe the sticker had been on the display a little bit too long, and now I kind of have like this little sticky streak. It looks like adhesive that didn't fully peel off of the plastic kind of protector sheet, and so I don't actually see it because it kind of blends in with the bezels of the display. But when I think about it, I see it, and when I see it, it's definitely an eyesore. I have used rubbing alcohol to try and kind of get rid of the kind of sticky residue. I wasn't successful. I don't know if UPERFECT decided to send me one that was been sitting in their warehouse forever, and that's why there's residue on the display. But I mean, it's a small price to pay. It doesn't actually affect any of the visibility or anything like that. But again, that's just my experience. Another thing that I'm not overly liking for this particular monitor is the fact that it's not very bright. I feel like whenever I take this around my house, even here in my studio office, or maybe I'm sitting in the Starbucks lounge or some type of cafe, I feel like if you are in some type of bright environment, not only do you have to contend with a kind of a darker screen, but you also have to contend with all the glare. There's not any type of anti-glare anything on these displays. So if you're going to be, again, in a coffee shop and you pull this thing out and you're sitting next to a window, boy, oh boy, you're going to have all the glare in the world. The speakers for a portable monitor are not great. I mean, let's just be real, it's a portable monitor. Even like larger TVs, they don't even have really good speakers. So if you are going to be using this and expecting for the speaker quality to be great, you probably want to manage your expectations just a little bit. Continuing on to the last thing I don't necessarily like about this monitor is the menu settings. The kind of menu settings, the dials on the back, it's just not user-friendly. There's a lot of trial and error when it comes down to getting the correct brightness and coloration, the color gamuts, whatever. And I also did reference that user manual quite a lot because it did help me kind of refine the settings that was best used for what I was using the monitor for. Now, here are the things I really like about this monitor, and I know I'm going to be playing devil's advocate for some of them, is the fact that even though it does come in at 5.9 pounds, it's still relatively light. Again, me kind of playing devil's advocate here just shows that, one, it is a heavy device, but two, it's not heavy enough to not be portable. So again, if you're looking to purchase this monitor because of portability, yes, it's 5 pounds. What's 5 pounds really going to make in your book bag? But with newer technology out there, I would like to see future iterations of this kind of device be a little bit more trimmed down so that way it's not as heavy. Because again, there's no processor, there's no battery in this portable monitor, so I'm not quite sure why it has to be so thick and or why it has to be so heavy. But I feel like because it is 5 pounds, I am able to just throw it in my book bag and go wherever I have to go. Another thing that I love about this particular monitor is the fact that the colors look really good. That's one of the kind of big promotional aspects for this monitor, is the fact that it has that 2K resolution, it has that 60 Hertz, and the color gamuts are really healthy and vibrant. So whenever you're playing games, whenever you're watching your YouTube, your Netflix, or whatever it is, it's all going to be very clear, pretty vivid, and also moderately smooth. So another thing that I love about this monitor is the fact that the inputs and outputs can be different. So again, you can have your MacBook Air, and then you can have that extended to one display, and then on the upper display, you can then have your Nintendo Switch, or maybe even another monitor. And the fact that due to the hinges, the monitor can open up to be like kind of a kiosk. So if you're collaborating with a coworker, or maybe you're playing games with your brother or whatever, one screen can be open on this side and the other screen can be open on the other side. So that means you don't necessarily have to have a dual monitor setup. You can have it in kind of like a, I guess you'd call it like a kiosk setup actually. And now, to make everything as sweet and as honeypot as possible, is the fact that you can actually purchase this monitor with a 30-day risk guarantee. And to make things ultra extra sweeter is going to be the fact that there is a 2-year warranty on this. So again, it's kind of a win-win. So again, UPERFECT is that confident in this product as well as all their other products. So make sure to give it a try. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching my video. I hope that this really gave you some insight to this dual monitor setup from UPERFECT. This is the second device that they sent me out to review, and honestly, both devices have performed fantastically. I have enjoyed reviewing and testing and putting this monitor through a whole bunch of tests. I've used it on the go while on the ferry. I've used it at coffee shops. I've used it in my living room. You can see I'm using it here in my studio. And again, there are some things about the monitor that I'm not overly like in love with, but I think that some of those stuff could be a me thing. So let's just give UPERFECT the benefit of the doubt that it can be user error. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe down below, and then also you hit that like button down below. That really helps my self-esteem, and it tells YouTube that Derek is kind of a cool guy and it's gonna spread my content across the interwebs. I hope to see you in the next one.